put you on mute for a second and give them a call. Just make sure they're ready.
Okay, sounds fine.
Hang on 1 second here.
Sure, no problem. Okay, it's 3:31 and they are running behind time. The meeting is scheduled for 3:30 Central Time, 4:30 Eastern Time. Anyway, I'm here.
Alright, they should be coming on here in just a second.
Okay, that sounds good. Actually, I look forward, to getting this over with because I make a lot of AIX interviews and some of them are very high end and it's pretty much clear cut who's the technical guy. But in some cases, I don't get selected. I'm not sure if it's because of one reason or another. The hourly rate is not matching, but I get that all the time, it seems. But I never have any concern with the AIX part of it.
Actually. Nice.
Let's see what happens this time.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the more technical the person is, the easier it is for me, actually.
Yeah, these guys are very technical.
Okay, so hopefully we can get to the technical part, and basically that's it.
Greg? Hey, Dylan, how you doing? Good. How's it going? Good. Missed you on the last trip. What's that? We missed you on the last trip. I know. I'm looking at Nick right now. He's smiling at me. But, yeah, couldn't make it. We have Kastan on the line here. I don't know if you have a couple guys with you, but I'll jump off and let you guys get to it. Great. Sounds good. Thanks, Dylan. All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Dylan.
Hey, Kastan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Greg, and you?
Good. I've got two fellows in here with me. I've got Ed and Chris.
Okay.
Both of these gentlemen are Unix administrators. They're more on the Linux side of the house, so their AIX questions may be a little bit lighter than you'd normally expect.
No, but I think it should be okay since AIX is the primary function that I'm here for, right? Primarily.
Okay, so one of my AIX fellows may be able to join us later.
Oh, okay.
He's in the middle of something right now, so we'll see if he makes it or not, but in time. But why don't you, can you start off by telling us about a project you've done recently? It doesn't have to be the current job, but recently a project that required more than just your AIX, but required a little bit of soft skills too. A project that had a little bit of trouble somewhere that needed you to put your soft skills to action.
Sure. I went to a project in San Antonio, Texas, working with a company called Kinetic Concept. And the primary objective was to actually replicate their current environment, which was AIX 5.3 and AIX 6 and Red Hat 4 through 6. So basically, there was a vendor interested in buying a fraction of their company, and I was called on board as a Unix engineer to replicate their entire environment, which basically meant that I had to create the LPARs, create the MixSysBs, define the client for the NIM server, and also install the AIX servers, and then at some point create the footprint of the server, VI, make VG, and then make LV, and basically securing all the secured ports that certain companies prefer to secure. And I also deployed some of the Linux environment through vSphere 4. So basically all of that was done through a SAN environment. as far as trouble issues, at some point, Greg, to be honest, trouble do not follow senior engineers as much as they follow junior engineers, because most senior engineers, they have an idea what might go wrong, and they basically, because of the fact that they are senior, they have seen it at one time or another. I didn't actually run into any situation outside of maybe bandwidth with the network part, which is common all across America. The pipe is too thin, it's not thick enough for a DR test maybe. Challenges. I didn't really have a challenge at the last two projects, working with AIG and then IPI in Indianapolis. They were just because of my experience in working with Unix. I was able to slide right in and perform the required tasks, whether it be creating an LPAR with full gig of RAM, 2 CPUs, and maybe 2 host bus adapters for redundancy on a VIO environment. It was just something that I've been doing for the past 20 odd years, and all that experience and basically mounted up to a senior Unix engineer skill that I have today as we talk.
Okay. So in that project, when you ran into some of those issues, how did you go about engaging folks that maybe were the problem for you there? You gave the example of the network bandwidth. Did you have to interface with someone to correct that? Where did you what opportunities did you have there that you needed to overcome?
Well, this is, if I recollect it correctly, it was working with a IBM XIV back-end array. It was just a newly purchased hardware, and in order for us to actually disaster recover the location in, I think it was somewhere in Mexico, there had to be sufficient bandwidth in order to port all that information within reasonable copy time to the next disaster recovery location. So that basically had to deal with possibly getting a license from the vendor, which will and then in turn open up the pipe so we can transport more than we were transporting across to the disaster recovery site. So that was the solution with that. It was just a matter of the vendor. I forgot who the vendor was, but it was a matter of just them purchasing additional licenses for that objective.
Okay. Have you experience with building VIO servers?
I've not actually built a VIO server. I've utilized the VIO server, but I suspect, once you launch the HMC and you designate the server as a VIO server and claim all the resources for itself, I think that's the primary thing right there, is that VIO server acknowledging that it owns all the resources, all the host bus adapters, the virtual shared Ethernet adapters. So that's the key thing, as opposed to a regular LPAR. The LPAR is going in as a client. The VIO is providing resources.
Okay. If I asked you to do maintenance on an AIX server, what are some of the steps that you would take? Let's say I told you to patch a server prior to patching the server to ensure that after you've applied patches and you do a reboot, that the server would come up successfully.
Well, I would take it, systemically. I would back up the current OS, create the make sysb, for example, and I would check to see what's the new technology level is available and bring down those patches. And I would patch it up and have it up to the current level, and then create another make sysb. And then I
How would you
no, I'm sorry. How would I do what?
How would you ensure that you boot the server from the proper devices?
Oh, okay. I think that would be you can set your disk, the boot disk with the boot list option. You can give it HDisk1, HDisk2, whichever sequence that you want to boot up first. And for example, if you had a root VG that you had just mirrored, and then you had a boot list question boot boss boot AD to it to make it bootable, and then you would put it in the boot list not hierarchy, a boot list order of boot, and even the first disk doesn't boot, the second one will take over. So I would basically make sure that there is a bootable boot disk available.
And which LD on the boot disk is the boot LD?
The USR, the kernel, the USR.
Okay. Which partition is the boot LD in the AIX? I guess is what I'm asking.
You know, I can't quite recall right now, to be honest. This partition is that.
Okay, that's fine. You have some scripting experience. What languages have you worked in?
I've worked with the K shell or the C shell, whichever one is actually inherent in the OS, whether it be an HP UX or Solaris or AIX.
In K-Shell then, let's say you're writing a script and to store the logic, you want to see what the return code of the previously executed command is. Do you know what environment variable you'd look at to find that?
I think it might be the echo. It could be the pound sign.
Okay. You have experience with external storage on Linux?
Most, if not all, of my experience has been based on a NAS environment or CERN environment. Every system that I've built in the past 6 years, basically have been multiple path in NPIO to NPIV technology, basically, with host bus adapters and host bus adapter capable switches.
Okay, so how would you verify, or let me ask this, have you used native multitasking in AIX or Linux?
Multitasking, you said, right?
Correct.
I'm not sure what you mean by multitasking. Could you make it a little clearer?
Multipath. Right?
Oh, multipathing. I stand corrected. Absolutely. This is the bare back that this technology is working on. MPIO, multi-pathing input output environment, is working with NPIV. All it basically is allows you to successfully multipath your host bus adapters for redundancy. In the event one path failed, you can always relay on the secondary path, and some P7 series have full host bus adapter, 4 ports. I stand corrected, while others just maybe have a support for 2 ports on the host bus adapter. So depending on how you want to VHF map your V adapters to your VH host. If you want to do it 4 ways or 2 ways, it all depends on.
Sure. So how would you list the paths that are available for your storage?
List all NPIV. List map all NPIV.
Okay. And if you're on server and you want to see the path that each disk has available to it?
Let's see. The list map basically will give you that information. Let's see, list map. Yeah, the list map command does that for you very succinctly. There's no other command that's going to list the path of HFC 01, 0 through 04. It all depends on how many fiber channel ports you're using.
Okay. Have you, how much experience do you have with verifying kernel parameters in Linux?
Verifying kernel parameters in Linux. I basically have worked, with Linux and Solaris and HP and AIX, and I've always approached it in the same way. It's always been Unix, and kernel parameters could be set up with NDD in some cases.
Okay. Let's say in Linux, your team has allocated you a new disk. Can you tell me what you would do to bring that disk into a new volume group and add it to an existing logical volume?
Let's see. Usually, once the disk is being allocated, I'm going to use the experience that I have on the short end working with AIX. It's config manager there, and that will bring the hard disk into the kernel's parameters. And then at that point, you can extend the group that you're trying to extend with that particular disk. So now you have that disk associated with that group, and then at some point you can start LV create your logical file system associated with the volume group. So I would take the same approach as any Unix system. In my
so if I asked you to list all of the file systems for a particular volume group in AIX, how would you do that?
list all the particular file system.
For a specific, let's say I said, tell me all of the file systems present in root VG. How would you tell me that?
Okay, I would do, let's see, I think a list VGL would do that. I might be wrong, but list let me write this down. List FS.
Okay, close enough. Can you walk us through at a very high level how you go about building an AIX server from a NIM server?
Oh, sure. I can take it from a height. Let's say, for example, you say, Kastan, I need you to deploy this LPAR, and you gave me the location of the HMC, and I would insert it into my web browser, and I would get the HCS root and log into it, and then select the hardware that's being controlled by the HMC, and then get onto it. And then create my logical partition, issue the appropriate RAM and CPU, and and then once that's done, I would basically restart it to ensure that all the parameters are saved on the VIO server at this point. And then I would go to my NIM server. My name server, whatever that might be, and enter the host name of my LPAR and the etc host name, and also the IP address. Then I would define the NIM client with the NIM option, and then I would let's see. Once you define your NIM client, you get the appropriate. It's a very it's a very concise method. So if I skip one, I may have to go back. So I'm gonna do this real quick. In the event that going too slow might trip me up. So I deploy the LPAR and I associate the LPAR with appropriate VIOs and ID numbers. And then once that occurs, I would get the MAC address of those LPARs. And then I would go back on the NIM server and run NIM option IF, and then the new LPAR name and the LPAR's MAC address, all that in the quote, and then the new LPAR name again. That would basically register the NIM client now to the NIM server, and then I would at some point have to also associate a make sysb with the NIM master also, because that's what we're going to use for the installation. So I would have to just I would have to go and use the same method, NIM option type. In this case, it's make sysb, and the location of the make sysb, and then the new make sysb name at the very final. Now the make sysb is now registered with the NIM master at this point here. And then, am I missing anything? And then go run bus install at Smitty bus install, and then select the client that I've already registered, and the server that is getting the NIM server from, and a few other key components that's always needed. Like let's see, data bus ins, for example. So once all that is established, you launch your make sysb, and then you quickly run back to the HMC at this point here, and go back to the LPAR, and you restart the LPAR. You restart the LPAR in the SMS mode, and prior to that, you would have had issued some key command parameters dictating the NIM server's IP address, the NIM client's IP address, subnet mask, and routing IP address. So once that would have been done at an early stage. But now that you hit your SMS mode, you boot it, and then you get a chance to boot your install from the NIM server at that point. And once you start seeing the packet counts, then you know you have a good installation kicking in. And of course, there's a VFC map. All that is done systemically in the background before I even get to this point here.
Okay.
My experience has been primarily whatever version the company is working. If there's a need to upgrade it, bring down the appropriate patches, and then update the new technology level, bundle it up in the new make sys file. Now you have a most recent make sysb file available for new installations. And all that can be placed in the NIM master, on the NIM master, wherever you dedicate that guy is located. And then when it's time to install, the new NIM client is going to extract the information from the new technology level, which will be the most recent OS level and technology level.
Okay. So if I'm going to switch gears on you now. If I ask you to tell me how much memory is being consumed by a server, a Linux server, what command would you use?
VMstat always helped me out in whatever flavor.
Okay. How about if I wanted you to tell me available swap space?
List PSA. That was list PS -A. That's AIX. And now I know this because I must have punched it many times on many levels of Linux. The swap info, that's very old, and I know it works on Linux also. Okay, I might be wrong, but swap info. No, it might work. Yeah.
That's everything, right? Well, I think that covered everything we had, Kassan. I appreciate your time today, especially at the end of the day like this. We'll give Signature a call back and talk with those guys and see what the next steps are from there.
Okay, that would be very good, Greg.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your time. My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Agent and calling from Evidence INC. This call was regarding discussion on the job post and the location position in the Johnson tax civil service. Get back to me in the number 469.
Okay, I guess that's the end of that interview.